analysis. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nagao, for joining us and speaking to us this morning, but I request you to stay on. We now move on, viewers. French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived in Beijing for a high-stakes visit focused squarely on the war in Ukraine. Macron will be meeting China's President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang, urging Beijing to use its influence over Moscow to help secure a long-awaited Russia-Ukraine ceasefire. France says China, as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, has a responsibility to push Russia toward ending the conflict. But previous appeals from Macron have brought little movement, and China still refuses to condemn Russia's 2022 invasion, even as Western governments accuse Beijing of supplying key components to Russia's defense industry. Macron's three-day visit to China comes just after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Paris, warning Europe to stay united. Macron is also due to discuss trade with his Chinese hosts. And we now move on to news from South Korea, where President Lee Jae-myung says the country still has unfinished work in dealing with the fallout from last year's failed martial law attempt. In a special address marking the first-year anniversary of the botched coup, Lee said the nation's constitutional order was protected because ordinary citizens stepped forward to defend democracy. He announced plans to propose December 3 as the People's Sovereignty Day, saying citizens deserve recognition and should even be considered for the Nobel Peace Prize. The failed martial law bid was launched by former President Yoon Suk-yeol on December 3, 2024, plunging South Korea into months of political turmoil. Yoon was eventually removed from office, and Lee, who had lost to Yoon in 2022 election, returned to win with a snap vote in June this year, with a mandate to stabilize the country and restore public trust. Listen in.
이체 혁명으로 탄생한 국민 주권 정부는 우리 국민의 위대한 용기와 행동을 기리기 위해 12월 3일을 국민 주권의 날로 지정할 것입니다. 대한민국이 존재하는 한 헌정 질서와 민주주의를 지켜낸 것을 함께 기념하고 더 굳건한 민주주의를 다짐하는 계기로 삼겠습니다. 친위 쿠데타 가담자들에 대한 엄정한 처벌은 그 시작입니다. 사적 야욕을 위해 헌정 질서를 파괴하고 심지어 전쟁까지 획책한 그 무도함은 반드시 심판받아야 합니다.
And I'd now request Mr. Nagao to join us back in this discussion. Mr. Nagao, crucial statement now coming in from South Korea that says that the cleanup of the martial law mess is not yet complete. What more should we expect? Am I audible, Mr. Nagao?
Okay. 1 year ago, the martial law imposed by the former President Yoon was failed. So that is a good thing for the democracy, because the democratic country should not be changed their regime by force, by call. But that is true. But at the same time, in case of South Korea's politics, there is another traditional fact which is not good for the South Korea is all presidents need to go jail after their tenure. So that's why still this is the situation. So view from the democracy, they are improving the situation. That is true. That is a good thing. But at the same time, why in the South Korea's politics, everyone need to go jail after tenure? But that is a little bit unfortunate fact, I believe. But that is a little bit sad situation.
All right. I thank you, Mr. Nagao, for joining us and giving your comment on this. And with that, viewers, we now shift our focus and move on to some other pressing developments coming from Seoul. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has also said that Seoul should not take sides as Japan and China intensify their dispute over Taiwan. Speaking at a news conference, he used a Korean saying to stress that stopping a fight is better than choosing a winner. He warned that taking sides would deepen tension in a region he described as highly dangerous for military security. The dispute escalated after Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi suggested Tokyo could act militarily if China invades Taiwan. Beijing responded with diplomatic criticism and advised its citizens to avoid traveling to Japan. Cultural events have also been affected, including the cancellation of a Japanese singer's show in Shanghai. China continues to view Taiwan as its territory and has not ruled out using force to bring the island under its control. Let's listen in.
일본과 중국이 갈등을 겪고 있는데 우리가 한쪽 편을 들거나 그렇게 하는 것은 갈등을 격화시키는 요인입니다. 개인 간의 관계도 마찬가지고 국가 간 관계도 마찬가지지만 최대한 공존하고 존중하고 협력하는 것이 바람직합니다.
All right, and joining us in this discussion is Andrew K.P. Leong, China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you, Mr. Leong, for joining us this morning in India from NewsX World. How do you view the statement that's coming in from South Korea? What does it really talk about the nation's foreign policy?
It's not surprising. If you look at the Southeast Asian countries, very few of them want to take sides in the rivalry between the two great superpowers, the United States and China. Particularly for South Korea, because South Korea is also an ally with the United States. Don't forget that there are American forces stationed in South Korea, mainly against the North Korean aggression. But nevertheless, American troops are deployed in South Korea. And South Korea also recently has formed an alliance, closer military alliance with Japan. Again, is part of this United States anti-China policy, a China containment policy. Because if you look at how the United States are dealing with expanded China's influence in the Asia Pacific, you have the first island chain centering in Okinawa, second island chain centering in Guam with lots of American assets. And the United States is now putting South Korea and Japan closer together militarily to contain China in the north of the South China Sea. And then south, you have the AUKUS with Australia, United Kingdom, and the United States submarine power deal. And then, of course, you have the Quad with Australia and India, Japan, to contain China. So if you look at the Asia-Pacific China containment policy, South Korea is a very important part of it. But on the other hand, South Korea doesn't want to make an enemy of China. Economically, a lot of South Korean businesses are in China, producing a lot of stuff for shipment worldwide. And South Korea, of course, relies on China as a counterweight against North Korea because the stability of the Korean Peninsula is also very important to South Korea. So that's why South Korea doesn't want to be forced to choose. And this kind of attitude of not being forced to choose is very common among ASEAN member states.
All right, thanks for your comment there, Mr. Leong. Viewers, crucial here how South Korea is choosing to maintain neutrality between the China, Japan,